Hey, what is up, Internet? Kyle here, Syndi-Comics, doing another issue of the Syndi-Comics Pool List. And this week from Oni Press, we're going to be reviewing Down Set Fight. Now, Down Set Fight comes from the writers of Chris Sims and Chad Bowers, as well as art done by Scott Nolchek, and I'm really sorry if I mispronounced that last name. Now, this book was actually sent to me by a friend and fellow admin for the Syndi-Comics Facebook group, that is BJ, so a huge thank you out to BJ for sending me this book. I was really happy to review it for you guys, and he's actually good friends with Chad Bowers, one of the writers. Now, this book was actually sent to me by a good friend and fellow admin on the Syndi-Comics Facebook site, BJ. He's actually good friends with Chad Bowers, so a huge thank you to both of those guys for sending me this book. It was really cool getting to be able to review it. But what this story actually centers around is a budding young football star who has been amazing his entire life and is probably the next superstar of the football league, since it's not the NFL, since it's not the copyright information, whatever football league it is, until the day that he kind of snaps and just takes out and savagely beats this mascot, as well as some of his own teammates and the other team. And then he, kind of after that, he has to leave the game. And he's just trying to live out his life. The story picks up 10 years later where he's trying to live out his life peacefully as a high school football coach in South Carolina. Until all of a sudden these giant mascots are attacking former athletes. And what unfolds is kind of this big mystery of kind of conspiracy theory of kind of why are these mascots doing what they're doing? Why are they attacking former athletes? What does it have to do with our main character, Chuck Fairlane? I'll be very honest with you. When I started this book and when BJ sent it to me, I expected it to be extremely goofy. I expected it to be extremely over the top. And what I got when I actually started reading it was actually kind of serious. There was a lot going on with Chuck and his father that is captured extremely well. There's a lot of kind of dynamics of a very overzealous, overbearing, kind of always trying to make his son not feel like he is not proud of him in a lot of ways and pushing him to become this amazing athlete. And I think the book does a really good job kind of exploring that dynamic and really kind of making you understand kind of where Chuck was coming from. But at the same time, it gives a little bit of kind of humanity to his father, as well as we do get a little bit of backstory on him and kind of how he's been into gambling and everything his whole life and those type of things. So there's a very good dynamic to the two characters, and I didn't expect that at all. I thought this was just going to be something like Shirtless Bear Fighter, where it was just very over the top, like Grizzly Shark as well. Something that it doesn't make doesn't have a whole lot of heart to it. It's just kind of a former NFL player just beating up crazy mascots the entire time, and that's not what we got at all. There's also a bit of a mystery kind of element to it. As these mascots, we really don't know exactly what is going on with them, why they're attacking these athletes, and who exactly is behind it. And that mystery unfolds pretty well. There are some parts that are a little bit predictable, in my opinion. There were a couple things that I kind of guessed right away. I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. So that kind of took me out of the element just a little bit, that it was a little bit easier to actually figure out what was going on. And then the other thing I necessarily maybe didn't care for as much was the kind of two different tones that this book does take. So like I said at the very beginning of this review, there's a wonderful dynamic between Chuck and his father that, like I said, really is developed very, very well. You understand kind of where Chuck's coming from, what he's feeling towards his father, why he's so frustrated with his father, and they do a really good job of portraying the father as well, and you get like I said, some insight into his mind as well. And I thought that was really, really cool. And even the conspiracy kind of theory of everything makes sense, and it's something that's very interesting. The idea of everybody is dressed up as a mascot kind of really takes some of that realism out of it and kind of tones down some of the seriousness that the book really has going for it. I wish they wouldn't have went so over top with the mascot themes and kind of making those characters so kind of out there. I feel like the book is kind of really straddling the line between a very serious family dynamic kind of character study and also having a fairly interesting kind of conspiracy plot of what's going on. But then there's just really kind of weird moments of these over the top mascots and this big fight scenes, and it tries to be funny, and it really didn't, the humor really didn't connect with me. So that was something that kind of, I wish that it would have just kind of went more with a serious tone, maybe kind of let go of the mascots a little bit and just kind of focus more on the disgraced football player and his relationship with the father, instead of really kind of throwing these over the top these over-the-top images and kind of attempts at humor at us so often. Same with some of the flashbacks of the father trying to prepare Chuck for football. It's like there were some really good kind of moments where you really felt that the dad was pushing him way too far, but they, once again, just kind of some of the humor and things that were put into place in some of the panels, it just didn't feel like it fit, and like the jokes kind of didn't land a little bit. And that was something that just kind of, once again, just kind of took me out of the story a little bit. And just kind of the last little thing that maybe this was because the ending was just a little bit predictable, but it just kind of felt like everything wrapped up like in an instant. I think it was in like 2 or 3 pages after like a huge fight at the end of it. So I would have liked to see like maybe just a little bit more insight to what was going on with Chuck, what was going on with the FBI agents, more so what was going on with the father and those type of things. I thought it just wrapped up just a little bit too quick in my opinion. But overall, I did enjoy the book. I thought it was pretty good. I think overall, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I really wish that they would have stuck with just maybe like the more serious tone of the father-son dynamic, or just went absolutely crazy, like I said, shirtless bear fight or grizzly shark, something along those lines, and they just went super crazy with it. Because I think either way would have been fine, but just trying to kind of straddle the two, it just kind of took me out of the story whenever I'd really get into the seriousness. But then all of a sudden, like, the craziness would happen. I get into that, and then we went back to serious. That was just something that kind of just pulled me out of the story just a little bit. Overall, I would recommend this book, especially if you're a football fan. I'm not the biggest football fan, so that could have been something as well. Just maybe the sport of football just doesn't connect with me the way it does some other people. But if you're a sports fan, if you're looking for something that has some good kind of father-son dynamic, if you're looking for a more sports-oriented comic, I think this is definitely something you want to check out. Just do kind of go into it. Don't expect something super over the top. There is some definitely serious elements to it, which, like I said at the beginning, I think they captured very, very well. But just know that going in, it's not all just crazy beat-up mascots the entire time. But once again, overall, 3.5 out of 5. I did enjoy the book. Another huge thank you to BJ. Thank you very much for sending this to me. It was a lot of fun to read. So thank you guys so much. So that is going to do it for this issue of the Syndi-Comics Pool List. I want to thank you guys so much for watching these videos. BJ, I know I've said it like 4 times already, but thank you again for sending me this. Really do appreciate it. Next week, I'm actually going to be taking a look at the hardcover deluxe edition of Tom King's Sheriff of Babylon from Vertigo Comics. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out that video next week. I'll be posting it 5 p.m. on Sunday night. Every Sunday night, I'll be doing a new trade. That's just the one for next week. So once again, I want to thank you guys so much for checking these videos out. If you're new to the Syndi-Comics, welcome. If you've been watching these videos since I started doing them, thank you very much. And if you're watching on YouTube and you have no idea what the Syndi-Comics is, it's actually a Facebook group where we all talk comic collecting, all sorts of stuff in comics. There's a link in the description below if you want to join us. We'd love to have you. So once again, that's going to do it for me this evening. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.